go, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
For the Pentacles.
Suit of Pentacles from the Healing Light Tarot. Yeah. So, yeah. Go on, fire one.
So, we're going through Ace to
7. Yeah.
Okay, so, Ace of Pentacles. Now, I love this card. I love the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And that was your intention to have it simple.
It was. All of the aces were directly inspired through, actually one of my favourite classic decks is this. So this is Norbert Losch's Cosmic Tarot. I'm lucky enough to have an 80s edition of this. My dad got me this, so it's a real treasure. My working copy of this was given to me by my friend Marek, so I've actually, both copies mean a lot.
Yeah.
But I loved the simplicity of the aces. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is what we all know, you know, the famous Waite-Smith aces with, you know, the divine hand offering the gift of the suit.
Yeah.
But what I loved about the Norbert Losch Cosmic Tarot was they're so elemental. So this is the Ace of Swords, and you just see the swords. Now, this particular ace inspired me for all 4 of the aces because, of course, you know, the sword is in a mandala on this. So what I wanted to do for the aces was just something a bit different from the other cards in that, the mandala is there, but each of these aces you can see actually grows out of a mandala continuum. So you can see that there are multiple mandalas being created by these interlocking spheres. Yeah. So with each ace, it's the same thing. You know, you see this, you know, mandala overlaid over mandala, sphere overlaid over sphere, and then coming out of the center of them is the element, you know, the suit element. So what I've done with all 4 of the suits is that I've used a very similar color scheme through all 14 cards of the suit. So in this case, I took my inspiration from the Thoth. So I love these kind of earthy golds, browns, greens, and that's the kind of color palette that I've used through all 14 cards, starting with the ace. So yeah, but I wanted to create something very simple, and also I wanted a transparent pentacle with a burst of light flowing through it, so that it's something physical. Yeah. But then I've always seen aces as the birth of the suit. Yeah. Yeah. And just the essence of the element.
And tell us about the mandala, because that envelopes the whole.
Yeah, it's like I said, I wanted the mandalas to fill the whole card. Yeah. And almost to be like a progression of mandalas that the suit symbol would emerge out of.
Yeah, I love that.
So you'll see that with the other 3 aces as well. Yeah. It's a similar thing.
And also, this is like Earth, so you've got growth here as well, haven't you? Around.
Yeah.
You know.
It's what I wanted to do here was there's a kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's a landscape below, but also the sort of trees and branches are also mirrored above. So it's kind of quite a surreal, almost like a sort of birthing channel that this pentacle emerges out of. So it is a simple card, but then I kind of felt I wanted to sort of maintain the simplicity of the element, but also the raw feel of the element of Earth as well. And also it's blazing with light. This is something that, you know, again, each of these elements, as the suit symbol emerges, the actual birth of the suit and the element is the healing in itself. Yeah. The very fact that, you know, the pentacle as a symbol of the element of Earth, you know, the very fact that element exists is what gives us life. Yeah. And it's the same with air, fire and water. Yeah. So without the birth process of these cards, we would not exist. We would not have the life that we have. And also, the fact that you've got mandala within mandala within mandala, you know, in a sort of continuum. Yeah, I really wanted these suit symbols to come out of a birth canal. Yeah. So you know the genesis of the suit, the beginning of the suit. Yeah. So that's my Ace of Pentacles. Thank you. So greens, browns, golds. That's what you're going to see for the whole of the suit.
And just mention the suits because they've each got their own colours, really, haven't they?
We've done again. I've done. This is the colour palette I've chosen here, but there's a steely grey and sort of cold pink palette that I've done for swords, Wands are all oranges and golds, but then I've also put some blues in there, you know, because but you know I love that concept of blue fire as well as orange fire. Cups are all sort of watery aqua blues, but then I also, there's a lot of rainbow colours have gone into cups as well, because I love the way water splits the spectrum. And I've kind of, with cups, it kind of allowed me to indulge myself and use more colour. So
I love your use of colour in this deck, Chris, because I know we've talked about how, as an artist, colour's important to you, isn't it?
It is, and colour can focus. Interestingly, with these cards, each card has a limited number of colours in it. But my idea was that, you know, I would use limited colour symbolism in each card. But when you actually put the deck together, it kind of just lays out like this, you know, like a rainbow, really. Because obviously the colours between the suits and the colours between the majors, each card, they vary so much from card to card. So
moving on to the two.
The two, yes.
Here we go. So, what have you drawn inspiration from?
I've.
Deck, I think we can tell, can't we?
You can. This kind of starts as I'm in to go on with the minors, in that I've paid homage to Pamela Coleman Smith through all the minors, but then I've interpreted them quite loosely. I think this is one of the more recognisable. I mean, if you look at the Waite Smith Two of Pentacles, you know, you can see the sort of turbulent waves and the ships, which I've got here. But see what we've got here, the pentacles on the two are contained within a lemniscate, whereas for me here they're contained within a mandala. So it's
fascinating.
I'm going to keep these two together while I explain it, because I think it's the same principle showed slightly differently. The two is the card of, it's the Golden Dawn call it the card of harmonious change. So what I always loved about her design, it's how there's a kind of interconnectedness about it. Twos are cards of opposites, and opposites complements. So I actually see relationship issues mirrored in this sometimes, because it's, you know, very often I see, you know, if you've got a divine juggler and the pentacles represent two people, as they're juggled, they're totally interconnected. One affects the other because they are strung together within the infinite, you know, the infinite lemniscate. So it's the card of change. It's the card of the juggle and dance of life. You know, it's, you know, the Golden Dawn called it the card of harmonious change. So it's change within harmony, which is not necessarily always an easy process because of the turbulent waters. And you can see here, the waters on my card, the ships are, I mean, it really is quite precarious. But again, what I wanted to do here is the pentacles are each within their own sphere, and it's the fact that those spheres overlap that makes the connection. And again, it reminds me that as people, we can't function wholly on our own, and it is that interconnection that brings us into healing space. And this guy is not necessarily juggling, but he is almost upholding and supporting. And the change comes when those two spheres overlap. If you look closely, he's a gateway onto the stars as well. He's standing in the water, but he's a gateway onto the stars, and this is an earth card. I mean, that's the thing that always fascinated me with the two. It's an earth card, but actually it shows that the elements are always interlinked. You know, no one element survives on its own, because we were just saying, weren't we, water nourishes the earth. You know,
they're all interlinked, aren't they?
Fire actually fuels the movement of the earth. You know, air erodes the earth. You know, air carries water, which nourishes the earth. So I love it. Really shows in the two that interconnection. So so it's kind of, it's the same, but it's different. And my ships look a little bit precarious because they look as if they've only just escaped from
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Okay.
So, number 3 of Pentacles.
The card of work.
Yes.
And this was a struggle. because I had to kind of break my own rules for this card, because I realised that I couldn't do with a silhouette what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I found this amazing antique etching of an architect at his drawing board, and I thought, yeah, that's it. And of course I've done something quite literal. I've just imported the etching, but I've put it onto a background of those earthy colours. And again, the pentacles here are the fruits of his labour, but again, they're sat within the mandala, because for me, work in its most positive sense is a very healing experience. And it's something that working and creating is something that's fundamental to healthy human existence. We find meaning in work if it's fulfilling. You know, we express our purpose through what we create. And I wanted to show that here. You know, his work is very highly skilled, and the reason the architect resonated with me so much, because I mean, on the original Waite-Smith you have the sculptor, the monk, and the architect. So I was kind of referencing this, you know, in an indirect way. But then, the pentacles are very much the bright shining stars of what he creates, and it's the finished product. So that's why I love triangles. Triangles represent a kind of perfection. And, you know, and again, that's why they're kind of emerging out of the mandala there. So they're kind of floating. They're metaphorical in this image, because I think the image is quite self-contained, and I can't take credit for this etching. It's an antique etching, but it said everything I wanted it to say. And the pentacles kind of float in a metaphorical way above that image. So you've got two separate worlds here. You've got the world of the real, the world of the metaphorical, and you could also say that as the world of the seen, and then the pentacles are in the world of the unseen, but emerging out of that healing space as the fruits of his labour. So
that's so interesting. I love the way you've described that, and that you've put the landscape with the mandala with the, you know, the actual work itself is the healing.
To me, it's a really powerful card. To me, it has a close relationship to the Eight of Pentacles. They show work from two different angles. You know, but this is it's whenever it comes up in a reading for me, it's a very powerful card. Because it kind of really gets me to think about my purpose for living. You know, what. You know, we don't completely define ourselves by work or what we do, but it's a very powerful part of who we are.
Absolutely.
So, and it says a lot about what we can achieve. You know,
100%. Number 4 of Pentacles. And this is a different kind of interpretation to what the Rider-Waite depicts. So what was behind this one then?
Right, part of this was inspired by the Thoth. I'm going to show you the two really iconic 4s. So here we've got our Waite-Smith. So some people call him the miserly king. You know, 2 pentacles beneath his feet, 1 across his heart, and 1 in his crown. And then you've got a really different image in the Thoth. So 4 of pentacles, 4 of discs, as they're referred to in the Thoth. But what you see here is a fortress from above, and the discs have become squares. And it's all about 4 square power. So Crowley called it the card of power. The Golden Dawn referred to it as the card of earthly power. And I think what a lot of people don't realise, that's precisely what Pamela Coleman Smith encapsulated. You know, earthly power as shown through the authority of a king. He's crowned with a pentacle. So he's kind of crowned with physical power and with physical wealth. His foundations are the 2 pentacles that are beneath his feet. So he has a foundation of earthly power and authority and wealth. And also his heart chakra is covered by an almost coveted and treasured pentacle, you know, which is kind of held like this. So I think that's a really clever depiction of the Golden Dawn. You know, Crowley just sees it as power. You know, it's something really quite elemental. So you've got the castle surrounded by the moat, surrounded by actually very fields full of a rich harvest. I didn't realise how pictorial this was, because so many of these are geometric. You don't actually think there's any of them are going to be literally pictorial, but this one is. So I thought, well, can I go halfway? And I wanted to show the elemental power of one, but the earthly power and authority of the other. And then I found this amazing photo online of an Atlas statue in the States. So I used it as the outline because, of course, it's this amazing bronze statue, and he's actually upholding this depiction of the Earth, which is actually shown with sort of interlocking spheres. So it's not a complete sphere; it's interlocking rings that are sort of arranged in a different way to sort of create a sphere. And that's what I want to show, because it's the authority of one, but just the raw elemental power of the other. So, you've got this super strong man actually literally upholding the earth or a heavenly sphere. And again, he's just standing within a mandala. Its point is kind of where the inner core of fire, because I was thinking about the earth with its crust, its mantle, and then its inner core. The top of the mandala is where the fire within that sphere is, and he is holding that in perfect balance with amazing strength. And I also wanted to sort of pay homage to the fact that it was a statue, so I left the plinth in and then put him on a second plinth, which is actually emblazoned with 4 pentacles. So it's a statue, but it's not a statue. It's, when you kind of look at that, I wanted there to be some kind of ambiguity, swirling with energy, but then again it's earthy, green energy. We think of earth as solid, but I think it has an energy of its own. So he's earthly power, raw power, and again it's that whole 4 square symbolism of the number 4. When you ally it with the element of earth, it becomes something very, very rock solid and unshakable, which you see he is unshakable. The castle is virtually impenetrable. So it's a card that's it's a card of mixed blessings. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We sometimes see the king as a miser. Sometimes he's a benevolent ruler that is just in control. And there's a bit of both there as well.
I love how you've really thought about this, though. It's very well put together from obviously inspirations, but your own what you think as well, isn't it?
I think with that, it was again my process sometimes is make do and mend, but sometimes you kind of get sort of flashes of insight when you're doing that. Because I thought, well, I can't do this. I can't do that in silhouette. I can't really do this because I want to say something different, much as this is amazing. And it was again when I saw the statue of Atlas, I thought, that's it. But then all of a sudden you start thinking, well, what does that mean when you put him in that context? When you make him that powerful figure in the card. And this is one of the joys of actually creating and improvising like this, is that it triggers all sorts of things that you wouldn't, you learn as you're creating. You begin to bond with the tarot in a completely different way, which is why I say to anyone, even if you can't draw, even if you can only draw stick figures, have a go. Do your own deck. I think you'd be amazed what you'll learn
with your own learning as well. If you're learning, it does help with that, doesn't it?
It does.
So the 5 now.
Oh, the 5.
And I love this card.
The last card.
This was the last card
That's
you
the
did,
card,
wasn't it?
the last card to complete the deck.
And it's very reminiscent of the Waite-Smith deck.
It is, and it isn't. In a lot of ways.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
I love, funnily enough, I know it's a miserable card, but it's actually visually one of my favourite cards in the Waite-Smith. I don't think anyone has done a better 5 of Pentacles than Pamela Coleman Smith. And it's just her use of colour. And for me, I love stained glass. And just even though it's very simple, she's kind of got the vividness of stained glass as I love it. But you've got obviously your leper and your beggar. In a freezing cold environment. The inference is that this is a church window. Church in medieval times represented a place of sanctuary. So it's the card of, in the Golden Dawn, the Five of Pentacles is the card of material worry.
Yeah.
So it represents poverty, financial crisis. It can represent illness, health issues, health fears, health concerns, anything to do with the physical world that is out of balance, out of kilter, which the fives very often are. They've upset the stability of the four. So I knew I wanted to go with Pamela Coleman Smith's depiction, but again I knew I had to do something different, and also I was struggling to find how I was going to show a stained glass window in kind of the way, the visual style that I was doing. And I found a photograph of this amazing piece of actually very early medieval stained glass, so it's quite raw, it's quite simple, and of course you've got the sort of triquetra symbols in there, which I love. They have inferences of the Trinity, but then they also have pagan inferences as well. So I thought, well, it's going to create something that's actually a little bit more inclusive. And in the end, what I ended up doing was just putting my 5 pentacles into the base of the glass, because that was naturally a blank space. So whereas Pamela Coleman Smith has woven them, they're like a tree motif with hers, I've just kind of woven them in. And what I wanted to show here is I've put a flare of light coming through the window. So I wanted to show that inside that building is light, it's warm, and it's positive. Outside is wet and dark. It's funny, she shows snow. I just intuitively wanted to show wet, because that to me is the ultimate in what's uncomfortable. Being wet for me is far worse than being cold. So I've put them in sort of a torrential downpour.
And I love how the mandala you've depicted in the window at the top. The light shine. Because
the light and the warmth from inside that building is where the healing space is. And one of the things I love about this depiction, it's the card, the Golden Dawn calls it the card of material worry, but she has actually taken it, she's explained it so much more three-dimensionally, in that wherever you've got worry, somewhere out there is always help and solace. If only you can find it. In this instance, they're walking past, they haven't noticed the light. And it's the same with the beggar figures on my card, but it's the help that they need is only just on the other side of that wall. And for me, when this card, I wanted to show that it just, no matter how hopeless a situation may feel, which is very often what the 5 of Pentacles represents, I wanted to show that actually that help, if you look, and if you approach the right people, there will be help there in some form or another. So it was the last card to be done, and it felt right that it was left till last, because it's a very special card to me. I remember buying my first Wade Smith deck and being, even though I knew that this was a grave image, there was something visually very magical about it, and I wanted to feel a similar kind of specialness about my card. I kind of partially got there. I don't know whether I fully succeeded, but it felt right. It was the last one, and it did give an odd sense of completion when I'd done it. So that's my 5.
Thank you. That was very interesting. And 6 now. 6 of Pentacles. Tell us about this one.
Again, it's very Wade Smith based, but I had to be a little bit more. I couldn't do it when you're working in silhouettes, which was an important part of the concept of this deck for me, because you have to do it slightly differently. So here's your Wade Smith. Your 2 beggars and your rich man with the scales. So that's what I've done. It's a little bit more ambiguous, there is, because you can't see their clothes. What I want with these cards is that people will project their own ideas as to what would happen if somebody switched the lights on. So say for instance somebody shone a torch on those figures and you could see their faces, you could see their clothes. I want whoever is reading with these cards to be able to fill those gaps in themselves.
I love that.
Intuitively. So that's what I did here. I mean, it's a picture of, the Golden Dawn calls it the card of success, material success. There is an inference of somebody successful giving to somebody who needs a bit of a leg up. But there's also, I love the concept of the scales, because there is a concept of weighing up what's needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
This is not, I don't see this, I mean, you could, in a negative aspect, you could see this as somebody giving condescendingly. But at the same time, I always see it, you know, negatively it could be somebody giving condescendingly and kind of weighing up in a miserly way. But I always see it in a positive sense, in that this guy is weighing up exactly what she needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually there's a sense of sharing success here as well. You know, what you've gained and what you've worked hard for, you know, it's kind of time to give back into the community, to people that you love, to people that are in need. And you know, this kind of follows on from here. What if she is the embodiment of one of the people on here? You know, but one of those figures on here has moved into that space where all of a sudden they're behind they're behind the wall, they're in the safe space, and you know, they're receiving the help and the support that they need. But you see, the mandala is around the scales, because I do see those scales as something very positive. You know, he's not giving excessively.
No,
he's not bailing her out. You know, he's not rescuing her in an unhealthy way. He's giving her what she needs. Now, sometimes that can be a case of what you need, the bare essentials, but it can also be a case of what you need to actually to progress yourself further. So that considered giving can be a very calculated thing. And I've experienced that in my own life from family and friends, where you know, they've not just given me the bare basics of what I need, they've given me the bare basics of what I need to flourish and grow and to progress. But basically what they're saying is, don't squander this, use it carefully. So that's the card of success for me. And again, the pentacles are up here in a kind of metaphorical way, because you know, you already see the giving going on here. And it's the same with Pamela Coleman Smith's. The pentacles are metaphorical. You know, in some of her cards they're very much integrated. Here they're like an overarching presence, because you can see the coins flowing out of his hands. So it's the same principle in a similar way.
I love that. And finally, this card. Now that I find this very interesting, because I've always struggled, and I think I said to you, I struggled with the meaning of the you know, the Rider-Waite-Smith image, and you explained it really well to me in this one, in your version. So tell us.
These two look very different when you first look, and actually they're portraying the same principle. Now, of all the cards in the Waite-Smith, this is the most misinterpreted and the least understood, because for years I kind of saw this as harvest and fruitfulness and prosperity, and you know, you see a lot of depictions of this, and it's fine. You know, you can come at it from that aspect. You know, you see sometimes depictions of it with smiling people with a harvest basket, or you know, that sort of thing. But actually in the Golden Dawn tradition, the name for the Seven of Pentacles was the card of unfulfilled success. And when I read that, I thought, well, Waite and Smith must have been doing something different, but actually they weren't. And it's actually coded into this in a way that most people don't understand. Now, there's been research done in recent years on these cards, you know, that's kind of really got people back to the core meaning of this. Katz and Goodwin did a book called Secrets of the Waite-Smith Tarot that began to touch on this. And Mary Greer's talked about this a lot. And actually what brought this to light for me was having read the Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin book, and then actually spoken to one of my friends who's a keen market gardener, and he taught me a little bit about potato plants, because actually what most people don't realise is the foliage on this says it all. This is a potato plant. Now what I didn't know is, because I just thought these were gold pentacles that were, again, quite figurative. They're not. This is one card where Pamela Coleman Smith was being very literal. These are literal potato fruits, which look like yellow tomatoes. They're part of the same family, But what I didn't realise until my friend told me was the fruits on a potato plant are poisonous.
Okay.
And when a potato plant is allowed to go to fruit like this, the potatoes under the ground shrivel up and shrink.
Oh wow.
So if you don't catch this plant before it's fruited, you lose the potatoes, and what you get is inedible yellow fruits,
which leads to
unfulfilled success. It's a harvest that's been missed. This is why he's looking so pensive. It's why he's leaning on his tiller, because he's missed his opportunity. So I thought, I can't portray that in the way that she has, and actually that is the cleverest way possible that you could portray that concept. So what I did was, I've shown a similar figure, but he's in a kind of arid landscape. Now these are literal pentacles, but they've been left out. They've been left out in the cold, they've been left out in the wet.
And you can see the erosion on them, can't you?
They're eroded. Yeah. And these have been left out, they haven't been looked after, they've eroded, they've started to rot. And there is a sense of regret, and he's, this is a kind of almost like an old kind of, this is almost like a beggar figure who the riches and the wealthy needs are there, but they've just, they've been left outside, they've been come to too late. Now again, the mandala shows the sunrise, because this is very definitely dawn. Now what it's saying is, one opportunity is lost. The sunrise shows you that you've lost that opportunity. Let's move on into a new landscape. Or the other message in these is, salvage these before they get too corroded. Because you can salvage these, you can take them indoors, you can polish them, you can maybe repair them. But again, it's more ambiguous than Pamela Coleman Smith's. But that's, a lot of people have said to me, why is that so negative? Why are the pentacles rotting? But actually, it's not the happy harvest. No. It's a difficult card. But again, it's only number 7 out of the sequence of 10. The sunrise shows that you might have missed this cycle of chances. There will always be another. But actually, when you miss that one cycle, let it be the lesson. This guy has learnt the lesson. You don't let a potato plant go to fruit. So there's not really much he can do with this potato plant. He's got to wait for next year's harvest. And similarly, this guy maybe has to move on to a different environment. And when he's in the same position next time, he will not leave those pentacles out in the cold. So that's my 7. And again, the card of unfulfilled success. So
thank you. That's our first 7
That's
pentacles.
Our first 7 pentacles. So in the next lesson, we will move on through to card number 8. And we will then go through 8, 9 and 10 and the court cards. So hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you.